There's a lot of people in the audience here who are probably about the same age, a bit older maybe, as were you when you first started working.
Yes.
I don't necessarily mean working in the music industry. And I think it's always really interesting to know how people like you started out. So starting right at the start, when you first went into work, what did you do? And what should you be prepared to do at the start of your career, as it were?
The first job when I physically left school, I was 15 when I left. I worked in a garage. I wanted to be involved in music just because I loved music, and I remember talking to the careers officer, as he used to come to the school, and I said, I'd really like to do something in music, and he said, well, let's not be silly, let's find another job that's more fitting to what you should do. So he decided I'd be a mechanic at a garage. I was interested in cars, but I think I spent a week at the garage, that was it. I got £3 for the week's work. They wanted me to work on Saturday morning, and I decided that probably £3 wasn't enough. And then I went to work for my father. So I worked for him for 6 months.
Okay. And what were you doing with your dad?
I was a labourer.
Okay. So nothing to do with music at all?
No. I was in a band. I was playing drums.
Yeah.
So we used to practice at night, and
yeah, I think that's, and it's a really interesting thing is that often you might want to do one thing, but in order to pursue that, you have to do something else in the daytime, and you follow music in your spare time.
It was, Dad ran a building construction company, small, not very big, but he gave me the job of being a labourer, so I would be carrying bricks and cement and all sorts on the building site, and I managed to do that for 6 weeks, and we got the opportunity to go to Germany to play.
And this is the local
the
band
little
that you
band
play drums
I was
in?
with, yeah. And I went to Germany, but I had to go as the roadie because I was too young to perform in Germany. So we took a roadie who was the drummer in as far as the immigration and people were concerned, and then I played at night.
Okay, so I mean that's really interesting because I think a lot of people start off and they want to be artists, and I expect there's a lot of people in this audience who want to be artists, and there's probably a lot who don't and want to go into the other side of the career. But I mean, I started off as a musician and now work on the other side. You
very good on the flute as well, Lucy.
Thank you. And then you started off as a drummer, and then you have gone into the other side of the business. But what kind of took you from being an artist into the other side of the business, and how did you go down that
I enjoyed
pathway?
playing. I really enjoyed playing. But it was the band I was with, we actually did a couple of support slots for Stevie Wonder and the Supremes on the old theatre tours that they used to do.
So the band must have been not that little local if you're supporting Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, but we had two singers, Mac and Katie Kassoon, who some people will know. We were their support, we were their backup band, if you like. And unfortunately, we came across some financial problems. And there was a local band in where I came from, and I knew them, of course, and they were working up north and doing the clubs, so they were quite big, as it were, in the local area. And our band had the problems, so I went and worked for them, pushing the cases, humping the gear, doing everything. I couldn't drive, I was only 16. So I couldn't drive it, so I was sort of half a roadie. I did all the work and then sat while they drove. And that band was called Mud. I enjoyed playing the drums, but I obviously wasn't that good. Because it was, it wasn't like anyone was banging my door down, can you come and play for us? Decided I enjoyed that side of it a little bit more. I got a little bit more satisfaction out of putting the gear in, putting it up, doing the show, taking it down and getting out. There was a feel to it. It was something that, and I was involved and seeing and doing, and I enjoyed that side.
And then, of course, Mud went on to be very successful and had 2 #1 hits.
Lots of #1s.
Yeah.
From Tiger Feet to Oh Boy to...
Have any of you heard of Mud?
I did 17 Top of the Pops.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Should see my feet.
I'd love to see that. Shame we haven't got some footage.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube, they're there.
Okay, we'll do that when you get back. So you did the roadie, and you worked with the band Renaissance as well.
Yeah, well, with Mud, it had progressed through that, you know, there was 2 of us umping the gear. As they started to get hits, that became 3 of us. And then there was 4 of us. And then I started to become, you know, head roadie or chief roadie, because I'd been there the longest. Then I progressed on to being the tour manager. So the roadies did the gear, then I did the band. And we started running the sound equipment that Mud used. We started renting that out to other bands. And that went, I was also doing the sound. I was also a sound engineer.
So you were doing a bit of everything?
Everything,
really?
oh
yeah. And you did the sound at Carnegie Hall for
Yes,
somewhere.
that was a bit, that was an American tour I did with Charles Aznavour.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember waking up at the mixer in the middle of a song thinking, how long have I been asleep? Sat at the desk, which is not good, but it's looking around. Is anyone, you know, is there any howls, any whistles? But it all seemed to be okay, so I was fine. I moved on from there, went with Renaissance or Renaissance, did American tours with them. They were quite popular on the East Coast and quite popular on the West Coast, but didn't mean anything really in the Midwest or, so we were, you know, we'd do the 2 coasts as a tour, all the colleges, all the universities. So that was my first sort of getting into the American side of touring, which I enjoyed immensely. But again, I was their tour manager and their sound engineer, which, you know, as I say, I'd turn up with them, do the sound, and then I'd leave.
And do you think by doing a bit of everything in the industry, on that side, the kind of logistical side and the tour management side, that has really worked towards helping you do the job that you do today?
Absolutely.
And so trying a bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, technology has moved, it's moved mountains since I first started. But at least I can have a conversation with somebody on a technical point and sort of get the gist of it. I actually know what they're talking about. Even if I don't know the real intricacies of it, I know what they're saying to a point, okay, I can understand it and actually offer an opinion.
And what do you think you learnt about that from that period of time? I think you mentioned what was interesting is that lots of people you worked with around that time have now worked their way up in industry and are now kind of quite high up in industry.
Yes.
And so it's interesting how people kind of stay in that business.
You're involved, and it evolves from doing those things. With the tour management side, obviously I work with different promoters in different places. And now, you know, if they were young guys, now I'm working with them on an equal level. I'm the promoter, so I know, you know, what we're talking about, and we have a meeting of the minds.
And so, in these early days, you mentioned earlier that you left school without any qualifications.
I did.
You wouldn't advise that, though?
No. No, I was very fortunate, really fortunate. Everything for me was lucky. It's a word you use, but I couldn't. Blessed, all sorts of words. I was more interested in running the school disco than I was going to lessons. And I remember we used to run it in lunchtimes. So I'd take all morning to put it up and take all afternoon to take it down. And it was, you know, that was the way, I've got this sus, this is great, I don't have to worry about it. And then leaving school at 15, not necessarily the right thing to do. I have 2 daughters that my eldest always said to me, but you left. I said, don't do as I say, not as I do. And thankfully, she's got 2 degrees and she's a teacher. So that's, I'm very pleased with that. And my second daughter has 2 degrees. She works for local planning.
Really?
Yeah, they're not.
So different worlds.
Yeah, the eldest was into drama, but not really music.
Yeah. So you do, I mean, it's important to get your qualifications, but I think also it sounds like when you were studying that you were in your spare time, following your passions, following your music, organising.
Yes, absolutely. That's you know, that's what I'm saying. I learnt, I guess, from experience, from having to do things at an early age and go and be out there on your own and take responsibilities. But nowadays you don't go and get the education, but you can also learn at the same time. Those experiences can come as well, and you can be involved in different things, even if it's taking a job of ushering, you know, a seat usher, for instance, at the Albert Hall. It may say, but you're going to see things, you're going to hear things, you're going to be involved in, you know, that side of it, and take a look at something that might figure that you want to go forward from it. I mean, I got very interested in box offices. I got interested in figures, and it's just it broadened and widened everything for me that I can take it all in. I enjoy all the aspects of it.
And you have to be prepared to do anything, don't you?
Yes,
From photocopying
absolutely.
Right at the start.
Absolutely. Making a coffee.
Yeah, it's not so glamorous, but
no.
But you're a prime example of someone that has started off and really worked your way up.
Yeah, it was. I think from the early days, especially when I was working for my father, there was obviously other people, labourers that were working for him. It was almost like you were putting a double shift in. You weren't putting a double, but they were looking and saying, "Oh, hang on, is he getting a? You know, his dad's the boss. Is he getting a free ride?" So you felt that you had to work that little bit more. And they'd be asking, "Is he on the same money as me?" "No, he's not. He's on less than you. You know, he's not." I wasn't physically built to go and do the things they were. You know, at 15, I was trying, but I think that sort of set you up. I've never been afraid to go and try something and actually. Oh, it sounds very cliche and old cuckerish of me, but I haven't actually had a day out of work. I've never been, apart from the garage, got fired on the Monday, I was working on the Tuesday. You know, yeah, exactly. Very fortunate. But it's about going and doing things.
And you've made yourself opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been very fortunate.
And you've slept in freezing cold vans
on the
road.
No heaters. No heaters in vans, and then when we got to the destination, we found a tap, turned it on, and the heat boom. So we spent 2 days without it.
Oh, got there in the end.
Yes.
So, so you did this area, kind of doing the roadie things, and then obviously Phil is now, his official title is President of Touring International Music for Live Nation. So looks after the touring of music globally, all across the world for Live Nation, which is an absolutely massive job. So you can see the things that he's talking about now is when he first started, and now he's got an extremely senior job. So after all of this, then you got onto the promoting days, which is what you are doing now. And you did various promoting, and kind of a big move was when you worked with Barry Clayman.
Yeah, I was a rep at the beginning. Yeah. I was a promoter's rep, which means you're the first in the building with the act or the act's crew. You make sure that they have a, in theory, smooth day, pleasant day. You do everything. When the artist turns up, you make sure that everything's good for them. The show happens, the show finishes, you're the last one to leave. That's your job, and then you move on to the next show. You're there as a chaperone, I guess, is the best way of using it. I enjoyed that side of it. I enjoyed putting the shows on, and I guess there's a job satisfaction of seeing something from the beginning, which came a bit later when you actually sit down and decide there's an artist that you like, that you would like to promote. You would then try and work out where would the best place for them to play, where would the best place for them to go. So working on, okay, what's their ticket price? Working out how much money it's going to cost to do the shows, what's left, so that you then make an offer and say to this person, we can do 10 shows, here's an offer, and actually routing the tour, getting the availabilities of the venues, putting it all together, putting the tour on sale, selling the tickets, doing the advertising, comes to the show day, that at the end of the night, when the tour's finished, job satisfaction. That's something that's always, I've really enjoyed, yeah. But it's next case, you move on, you know, and you can have tours that lose money, unfortunately. I've had enough of mine, I've had a good share of those.
So what was the first show you ever promoted?
Oof. The first show I ever promoted myself was a tour with John Denver. Okay. I'd worked for the company, BCC, Barry, and this was the first tour where I'd actually said I'd like to do this myself. And he said, yep, okay. So I was allowed even to have the title Phil Bowdery on behalf of Barry Clayman Concerts Presents. And that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, and in those days, we don't do it so much, but in all the ads in papers, it would always give the name of the promoter.
Yeah, it was I mean, we have, not that my name would appear, but Live Nation would be the name, because that's who I work for now. But even to the fact where I have a show here now with Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, I purposely took the Live Nation off of it for no other reason other than there wasn't a lot of space on the ad, and we're not going to sell one ticket. It's the two artists that are going to sell the tickets. So I just wanted to make a little bit more room, but that, you know, it's not so important now.
So one interesting story that I was reading about you at the weekend, you did Michael Jackson's first ever solo tour, which was at Wembley Stadium.
Yes, the tour was Europe, but the London show was Wembley. And that was in what year? 88.
88. So And it was 11 Wembley Stadium.
Seven.
Seven Wembley Stadiums.
Which was the record at that time.
Yeah, and that has been the record for many years and just recently been surpassed by Take That. Can you just tell us a bit about that? Because I think you sold, was it 1 million tickets in the first
over
day?
the UK tour, we sold 1 million tickets for Michael Jackson.
But at that time, you were working with a very small company.
Yeah.
And
there was,
very different to today.
I think there was 8 of us in the office.
Yeah.
So, and we were involved in Europe. I toured Europe with the tour. I was on all of the dates. He played 7 shows at Wembley Stadium, but at the time, the demand, and I've never witnessed this again, I think he could have done 20, certainly 15. The demand was incredible, but they didn't have licenses. They only had 12 licenses a year, and the others were being used by, I think it was Pink Floyd, I think it might have been Springsteen. So there was only 7 possible chances of shows. And that was an incredible time. We played Aintree Racecourse, which had never been used before. There was 130,000 people at Aintree Racecourse, which was nuts with the locals, which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I don't think I'll ever see it again. It was certainly something that was, the demand was incredible.
And I read that you were tearing tickets off yourself.
Yes, on
the
day we went on sale. There was it wasn't computerized then.
Yeah.
It was actually a hard book of tickets. And you would tear the tickets out. And I was there. We went on sale on a Sunday morning in November, very foggy at Wembley Stadium, and they queued the people around the stadium, came into the stadium, and they used to have what was called Lions tea bars,
right,
which were very old-fashioned, but they were the counters that went around the outside, and we set up 2 of those as like box offices. And I was standing there, because I've still got it, I tore out ticket number 1, on the first show, the first day, and it was turnstile A, and the ticket was 001 as well or something, and I tore that out and kept that one.
Yeah.
Put the £25 in and kept that ticket, which I framed. But we would be tearing tickets out and physically selling tickets that way.
And so how many did you sell it in that way on that day?
Well, I think on that first Sunday we got to about 3 stadium shows, so 72,000 times 3.
Wow.
Obviously there was telephones,
so
you could do sales, but they were still ripping tickets out after the telephone call and then sending them in the post.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week we had the 7, it was done, because it's just physical time and effort. You know, had it been nowadays, you could have got to that 20 because of if the computer stands up or the system stands up, you can keep selling.
Yeah. And what was it like working with Michael Jackson?
Very interesting. Obviously, an enormous talent. I mean, I saw the show. First of all, I saw the show in Japan in '87. I went out because that was where he did his first show solo, and just from seeing it the first time, I think the hairs on the back of the neck went up when he opened, and every time I saw it after that, it was exactly the same thing. You know, there's lots of side stories to it, but as a performer, I can't think of anyone else that was as good.
Really?
At that time, just amazing. I mean, I've seen lots of, I have such a wide, I love music, so I'll enjoy every time. I love listening to new music, just to see it, and I might say, oh, okay. I mean, Royal Blood, I've got into them. It's just that, the way of the feel of what they're doing, and you know, being innovative in as much as drums and bass, and that's the noise they're getting out of that is incredible. So as an artist, he was, and songwriting, I mean, the songs were just fabulous.
Amazing.
Yeah, just really good.
And so who do you work with now, today, who you think is, you know, amazing, not in the same way, but in a different way?
I think, as far as bands are concerned, I still have a real love for U2. I love U2. Coldplay, certainly without a shadow of a doubt, they are very good live, and you know, enjoy that time with them. All music, really. I can't. There's no one I don't like, because there's different bits of it that you say, oh, okay, I understand what they're doing, why they're doing that. So you can listen to it for that reason. You know, I enjoy good songwriters.
Yes.
That's something that
well, that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Really. And have you got any stories that you can tell us that other people might not know about any of the artists you've worked with? We like a bit of gossip.
Oh dear, it's all in the book.
Oh,
but when I'm gone,
oh, okay.
I'm not. I don't think I'll be disclosing anything before I go. Nah, I've no real nasty bits and pieces. Everything, it's life. Things happen in life. You see things. Okay.
Any crazy demands from artists?
Well, there are.
You don't have to mention names if you don't want to.
No, well, not really. I mean, they are. The one thing about artists is that they are, I always believe that they're given a talent that is immense in some way, be it singing, be it playing, be it songwriting. They will generally, I always feel that they lack somewhere else. And normally that's on the smarts. Okay. So sometimes there are artists that you think, oh, yeah, come on, what are you doing? But you have to shepherd them through and go through. There's been some good times.
So you're a promoter, but also you're an agent for Tom Jones.
I am, yes. Tom is the only artist I'm the agent for, yeah.
Yes. So what does that entail?
Oh, that's a pleasure.
Really?
Oh,
he seems like a lovely man.
He is. I've been involved. I think I did my first shows with Tom in 1985. Became his agent in 1987 purely because unfortunately his manager at the time died, and his son took over that role of being his manager, and his son is my age. We hit it off. We're very friendly, so we got on very well together, and it was a natural. He was looked after by the office that I was working for, so it was a natural progression that I would then take on that responsibility, and now I look after him for the world, live-wise. Yeah.
So you organise all of his gigs, concerts, all over the place. And he's an amazing performer, and he has been around for many
74 years old and still going.
And still at it, and now kind of re-emerging with being on The Voice and things like that.
Yeah,
Do you all watch The Voice?
Next year, 15, it will have been 50 years since It's Not Unusual.
Really?
So his first #1 50 years ago. That's
that is an amazing artist and shows great
still
longevity and is around. And do you think the bands of today will have longevity? I mean, obviously people like Coldplay will do. Do you think
it's about the songs, Lucy. It's about those. If you have an anthem, then that's always going to carry on and be played, and it's going to keep coming up. But if they write good songs, that's what their heritage will always be, the longevity of the songs. Because even if it's one song, everyone says, "Oh, that's the so-and-so song." Music it's about memories, because whenever you hear a piece of music, there's normally, I'm not saying all the time, but of a classic piece of music, you might go, "Oh, I remember that. We were on holiday," or "Oh, the house fell down," or something. We were playing that and something went wrong. But it will always bring you back to it. That's the nice thing about music. You can always use it, for whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah. You've been working with Miley Cyrus was it this year she did
this year? This year.
And we were talking about this, and I found it really interesting what you said about her. We were talking about how some artists get it right and some artists get it wrong. And the Miley Cyrus tour, everybody would naturally have assumed that it would have sold really well, but actually didn't do quite as well as you had expected. And
yeah, I think, and this is a personal opinion, obviously, not. I just think that she was trying so hard to get away from her original image of Hannah Montana, that she went, instead of saying, okay, that's over here and this is me now, she went over there. Yeah. and still is. And people can take a view, oh no, that's just a little bit, there's a level that I want to go to and I don't want to go to that level. Because the sad thing is, if you actually listen to her, she's really good. She has a great voice. There's a clip on YouTube that she did for Radio 1's Live Lounge, where she sings the Lana Del Rey song, Summer, what's it called, that song? Summer Sadness? Yes. I mean, just listen to her on that. She's amazing. Her voice is so good. And you just think, oh, let the talent show through. It's there, but obviously she knows what she's doing, but it finds it.
I'd like to think so, like to hope so. But
yeah, it just, you know, ticket sales, okay, there's lots of factors that get involved in that. And but for her, when you have someone that's that good, you know, just let it go through, it'll come.
Yeah, I know, I agree, totally agree. So we talked a lot about you being a promoter. Can you just talk a little bit more about what a promoter actually does? You briefly talked about it a few minutes ago, but just for those of you who might want to be a promoter, can you say, what do you do on a daily basis? Well,
first, I mean, your job is really about as it says, the promotion. You have an artist or a band or whatever that you believe other people want to see, or people want to see. So it's about, okay, where will they want to see it at? The interesting things like the hall here, you always say it's the artist that sells tickets. There's very few venues in the world, and this is one of them, where the combination of the artist and the hall, people say, oh, you know what, I'd like to see that at the Albert Hall. It can add revenue or tickets, which is revenue, to the experiment. Because if you make the right choice of an artist, it's like Adele. I love Adele, but I think to put Adele, for instance, in a stadium, which she could sell very easily, I'm sure,
yeah,
you'd sort of lose a little bit of it, yes, wouldn't you? But when she played here, it was just stunning.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing something, it's quite intimate for somewhere that's got 5,000 seats. The nature of it being circular, it lends itself for people to enjoy the show. So I think this is, you know, as I said, there's very few of them, but this one would enhance what you want to do with an artist. But you have to decide what venue you want to go to. So that's the one project. The next one is, what's the ticket price? Because obviously that's the be all and end all. Whatever you charge and people pay, ultimately is what will come out at the end, that you can make that offer to that artist to come and work for you. If you get it wrong, someone else is going to put a higher ticket price in, therefore their offer is going to be better, and they're going to get the tour and you're not. If you price it too high, people are not going to go and see that show. That's obvious. Oh, I'm not paying that. You hope that you're doing that. So you sit down, these are the venues, this is the ticket price, so do my figures. How much does it cost me to work at the Albert Hall? A fortune. So I have to take a lot of money off of that. Sorry, Jasper. Then you decide, okay, by doing the equations, I can do 10 shows. For example, I'm left with £10,000 each show. So if I want to give an artist, if I say, okay, we'll do an 80-20 split, 85-15 split, i.e. artist takes the lion's share, I then take the balance, then I'm looking at giving them 85,000, I'm left with 15, if we sell all the tickets.
Yeah.
So you then make that proposal to the agent or to the manager, depending what way you want to do it. If they like what you're saying and the way that you also put a marketing proposal, because that's where in theory, your expertise is.
Yes.
We can all give money, but it's about, okay, how do I sell the tickets in the best way? How do I make the artists feel that their tickets are being sold in the best way so that everyone gets a good result? If you're successful, then you decide, okay, are you going to do some TV shows? Do you have an album coming? Because obviously we like to link everything together so that we have a continuity, if you like, of he's been on TV. Oh, that's funny. He's got a tour going on sale. Oh, look, he's got a DVD as well. You know, believe it or not, we actually think about some of those things. So we put it all together, and then we'll go on sale, and we hope that we sell tickets. If we sell tickets, then that's fine. We'll keep going. The day comes, plays the shows, go through all 10 shows. Thank you very much. Very successful. You have then a relationship with that artist, so that you hope going forward, you'll carry on with that artist.
Yeah.
Be they bigger or not so big, or if they're growing or not growing, but at least you have a relationship. Obviously, that can all go very wrong, in as much as you put the tickets on sale and they don't sell. But you've made a commitment to the artist, so you have to follow that commitment through. Because if you don't, it'll get round pretty quick in our business. Oh, he didn't come up with the deal, didn't carry his as he should do, so we won't work with him again. And then that's the end of that. So once you've played the shows, be they good or bad, at least you have the satisfaction of doing them from the beginning.
Yes. And in terms of marketing, which you said is one
Yes.
of the most important things, so obviously you're marketing to different audiences. So you work with Neil Diamond, so you'd be marketing to a different audience to compare to One Direction.
One Direction,
who you also work
absolutely,
with. So,
completely different.
How do you judge that, or how do you decide what marketing you're going to do for particular acts?
Again, it's about the genre.
Yeah.
We all know that Neil Diamond fans are not necessarily the youngest people, so they're not necessarily going to be savvy to the social networks. I mean, he has people that are on his Facebook page and his Twitter, but it's done as a marketing tool by his record company rather than necessarily him. So you would go to more conventional ways, i.e. television, newspaper, media, i.e. running ads in the newspapers, or you would go to radio, because and it's about choosing the right radio station. You would, look at the radio station's playlist. What are they playing at the moment? If it's, I'm not going to put Neil Diamond on Kiss FM or any of those as an example. So you have to look and okay, smooth radio maybe, or absolute one of those that he's playlisted might be. Put the ads on there. Run, especially with in that artist, we know he's doing lots of television. So you produce your ads at the time of the TV and get to that audience. That's where his audience are. There's finding ways. Obviously, because he's been before many times, you would then look at his previous audiences and let them know he's coming again. Would you like to go and see them again? In lots of instances with the older artists, you do have the audience does diminish through natural causes. So you have to be prepared to, try and find a new audience. And maybe they've passed it on, so making sure you're getting to them. With One Direction, then it's really social media.
So completely opposite.
Completely opposite. You can not put one ad, you don't have to run one radio, one TV, just to get the band to let it be known that there's a tour coming, just advertise it that way, and you can watch it. It just goes, the social thing just opens up and everyone has that information. We had an act recently, a band called R5, who people may or may not know, born out of the Disney thing. One of the guys, they're all siblings, and the oldest one is in a Disney program. But the band are getting this groundswell of kids to watch them. So our marketing department, I just said to them, why don't we try and, we were playing Dingwalls, which is a small club in London. Why don't we try and sell tickets without spending a penny on advertising? Not one. I don't want to spend a cent, but let's see how far we can get. We sold out 2 shows at Dingwalls, and we didn't spend a penny on advertising. Wow. Just by going to our social media side and pushing it and getting them to push it. And, there was an interaction of everyone. And we were oversubscribed.
That's amazing.
Oh,
so your job's easy then?
Yeah, great, thanks. What it is interesting, it's exciting.
Yeah.
You look at those things because, I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, young, but I love seeing those things. That I just get so excited still, and I think that's what, let's try this. That to me, that's what it, that's the excitement of everything. Seeing nowadays, it's interesting. I'm very fortunate in as much as I have a great rep who does my shows. He'll put the shows and make sure they all work. I have great assistants in the office. I have wonderful assistants, and for me, going to the show, it's almost like you're royalty. You pitch up, you have a look around, everyone okay, have a chat and make sure everything's good, and if the artist is accommodating, you go and say hello, and then if not, then it doesn't matter, and you sit, and your job's not done, but it's, you know, it's all in the preparation.
Yeah.
So, whereas in the old days you'd be there, oh, shouting all around. Yeah, exactly. So now it's a slightly a different approach.
Yeah, well, you've worked very hard to get to that position, Phil. And
yes.
Yeah, and you know, by now I think you deserve to be treated like royalty.
The Queen thinks everywhere's just been smells of fresh paint. You know that?
Oh, really?
Everywhere she goes, it's been freshly painted.
Is that your ultimate? So
yeah, that's the level. Oh yeah,
aim.
I see the painters have been in.
Any other kind of, I mean, obviously you learn a lot on the job when you're a promoter. I mean, you've got the marketing, you do the deals, you book the venues, anything else? What do you think else about that?
Yeah, I think the ticket price is
crucial.
Ultimate. You know, that's it, you've got to get that right, because you can, you know, if you go £5, £2 the wrong way, there's people have, you know, they have things in their mind where they're okay, that's my limit, as it were, and you get somewhere and they, oh, hang on, that's £2 over. No, I'm not going there. So it's about getting that right, and it's the value of the artist, because the artist will always tell you nicely that they're worth more. That's, you know, I've never known an artist say, oh, I don't want that. No, you know, let's do it lower. But it's getting it right, and it's having that agreement with them.
Yeah.
So that's the most box office, and I enjoy scaling the house, especially on arenas, stadiums, to actually work out, okay, where's the price going to be? Where's the best place to put that price?
No, it's very interesting. And do you think it's something you've either got or you haven't got? You've got a feel for what was
I think it's experience.
Yes.
You know, it's. I learned very early on, don't put a show up on Good Friday. Never sells.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just doesn't. I mean, okay, if it's Adele and she's playing the Albert Hall, I might reconsider. Different. But generally, you all stay away from Good Friday. Obviously, Christmas Day is very dodgy for anyone to go and watch a show. So, but and then again, believe it or not, New Year's Eve. If you're going to play New Year's Eve, it's sometimes better to make a point of it that you're actually going to do and finish early, so that people are going to go on and do something else. Unless it's specific, they're here to see midnight and do that. Yeah. You know, that's a different thing. If it's a DJ, maybe, you know, you put the DJ in to see midnight through, maybe that works.
No, it's interesting, and you do learn so much as you go along, don't you? And
absolutely.
I think, and you never stop learning.
No, ever, never.
Yeah.
The day that I say I don't need to know that is the day that I will quit.
Yeah, and it's important to recognise that you're always learning as well.
There is a new experience every single day.
Yeah. No, our industry is certainly very interesting.
Absolutely.
That's without a doubt. So, moving on to kind of these guys in the room a little bit more.
Yep.
I mean, there's people here who wants to be an artist.
Good.
Anybody want to be a promoter?
Double.
Excellent. Agent? Anyone want to be an agent?
Oh, one.
Okay.
So we must have some agents.
We've got a good, or anyone want to work in a venue? Oh, that's what I do.
Is it just music then? Is it just people just interested in music, and that's why you're here today? What's the overall reason, apart from hearing an old cucker carry on?
I think, I think people here want to do a bit of everything. I mean, what I was what I was going to say to you, Phil, is if you could give 3 bits of advice. Obviously, we're going to get questions from all these guys soon. Hopefully, there'll be a few. But if you could give 3 bits of advice to people to work in whatever capacity in the music industry, what would you say to them?
I think, obviously, know your product. And that doesn't mean one genre, because I'm embarking very soon on a car event that I'm going to promote.
Oh, you like car stuff, don't you?
But it's slightly different, and more 2 weeks' time that happens. It's know the product, because if you know the product, then obviously you're speaking from, you have some sort of information. To go blind into something is very difficult. It's not necessary. You might have a bit of luck once or twice, but you're certainly not going to keep having it. So know the product, know the music, and that doesn't mean, as I say, one genre. Make sure that your brush is broad, that you're looking at all different things, because it's about selling tickets at the end of the day. That sounds sort of mercenary, but it's commerce. That's what we're doing. We put the shows on. There's only one reason we put the shows on. That's to make money for the artist and for us, hopefully. And then, you know, keeping nice old venues like this going. So know what you're doing. Choose your artist music well, so that at least you're coming from the right direction, ticket price, all those things that we've spoken about. Don't be afraid to work. Don't be afraid to do everything. Get stuck in, and it will always come back to you at some point. If you've put the work in, I'm a great believer that at some point, even though sometimes you're thinking, ugh, it will come out and reward you. The third, just stay on it. Be committed. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, and keep pursuing it.
Absolutely. If it's what you want to do, you've got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been very fortunate, very, very lucky. No one knows that more than me, but it's, you know, I think sometimes you have to make a little bit of luck as well. And that's about being prepared to work and to do those things. And
to be nice to people.
Yeah. Well, I've never found anyone that I'm rude to is ever going to help me, are they? In life, that never happens. I try, when I walk in a venue, I want to make sure that I know the guy that's on the back door. I want to know his name. And I also want to know the guy that's the boss, because I believe that there's nothing like respect, because if that guy wasn't on the back door, I can't get in the building. So we need him. The boss, we need him to run the building. So it's like the crew, on the large tours, they carry caterers, and generally the caterers are the first people in the building. It's all very nice, but they're there to keep an army going. Without them, it doesn't keep going. If people have got to stop and go out to eat or whatever, then work stops. So there's a reason for all of those things. And everyone, the guy that drove them there is as important as the guy that's mixing the sound. They might not see that, but without being driven there, it can't work. So it's about respect for everybody.
And I mean, I've worked with Phil for many years
Yes.
at Royal Albert Hall, well over a decade, and he's one of the nicest promoters that we work with, and it's always nice that everyone never shouted at me.
No.
Which actually is a very nice thing.
Thank you.
But takes time to speak to you and is just really kind. And I mean, we've got another big promoter at the back, Dennis Arnold from 3A. Wave, Dennis. Also very lovely and charming.
Lovely Dennis. Dennis is very lovely to me too.
And also looks after some major acts. And we have a very good working relationship with... Dennis
would be very good doing this.
Yes, well, we'll get him on the list. But I think it's very important to have that working ethos as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're in music or you're the banker or whatever, banker, the estate agent. That's a good one. If you're respectful to people, then people are going to be respectful back.
Yeah.
That's all you're asking. It's not a difficult thing to do.
Absolutely. So talking kind of, it leads on quite well. Who do you respect in the music industry?
Oh, I think, interestingly, it sounds very cliche, and the boss of the company that I work for, I think, first of all, he's someone that I was very fortunate when he first joined the company. I worked with him here in London before he moved to the States and now runs it in America. He has this incredible, attraction for people to follow him, and very innovative. Has great ideas and works forward, and has a vision which is very good. That's Michael Rapino. I've got a lot of time for him. I think that there are some good agents, especially, I mean, for instance, Emma Banks,
yes.
Who's a lady who's probably would be, you'd look upon her as being the most famous agent in the country at the moment. And the fact, I'm not saying it because she's a lady, but she is very good and has some very good acts. So you have to respect her because she obviously knows what she's doing. And then anyone in our industry, really.
Yeah.
You respect them because it's what they do. You're all doing the same things.
It is interesting because it is quite a male-dominated industry.
It is.
Isn't it? And there aren't so many women. We've got
No.
potential women promoters.
Lady promoter, why not?
We don't actually have, we have very few female promoters that we work with. I can't really, in terms on this side of things.
We just got a promoter in the office, a lady, Isla Miss Kelly. She's come through from ranks and she learns very quickly. I see good things for her. I think she's going to be very good.
No, it's good. Just quickly, before we go on to Q&A section, what's the way forward, looking to the future? Any kind of words of advice, or where do you see the industry going, things we should be embracing?
Certainly the internet, for want of and that when I say that, I'm trying to, I'm talking about a very big thing, not just putting it down to the internet, but social media, the way that the internet, when I first started putting shows together, we used to use a telex machine. I haven't seen one for donkey's years. And you used to sit and type out the telex, so you type the message, push a button, it would give you a tape with all holes punched in the tape. Then you'd feed the tape into the machine and watch it, and then it'd all print it all out again. And you'd hope that it had gone to the other end. Or before, because that was amazing that you could do that. Before that, you wrote a letter. So someone sent you a letter, it took 3 days to get to you, and then you sat on it for a couple of days, and then you replied, and that was 3 days. So it could take you a year just to try and do a deal. Now, sitting here for the time that I've sat with you guys, I'll go back and get my phone, and as always, look at the emails, and there'll be 30 there, minimum. And he hasn't answered. Where is he? What's going on? So that's the way that we are. That's the way that we're moving. So be prepared for that. I don't mean to all become technical geeks. What I mean is to use it. Don't have it as a disadvantage. Use it to your advantage so that you can use it to its capabilities. It is an amazing thing that you can, as we said, from marketing on the social media side to getting deals done we can do things now, which is, there's a guy that sits in Denver that has every building, but nearly in the world, on CAD, that will ask a question to this guy, and I don't think he ever sleeps, even though he's in Denver. You send him an email and ask him a question, he'll send you back that plan with whatever you want overlaid on it. Now, that would have taken weeks before. Yeah. This is almost instant. So it has those, the good things about it that can help you and to use it. So I think that's my way forward, is looking at the technology and trying to use it to our ability, the best of our ability, as opposed to, not using it, because I think you'll find that there's enough going on that it'll help you in all you're doing.
Do you think there are any negatives about social media? There
are negative things. People they become anonymous and they do things on it that are not necessarily the nicest things to do. And unfortunately, that's something that's nothing to do with me in the music business. That's just a social side that we have to live with and where we are. So it would be nice if that didn't happen. But unfortunately, I think we've got no chance of stopping that. So it's just hope there's not so many nasty people out there.
And in terms of actual artists, do you think they will be around as long, or do you think they have more kind of one-hit wonders and shorter, long?
I don't think that's changed, even from the Mud days. Chicory Tip had Son of My Father. None of you guys are going to remember that, but that was a one-off that was a huge song. For a summer, everyone was singing it. And they disappeared again. So, you can't say that that's now. I think that they're instant now. I mean, the one thing about One Direction that was incredible was their global rise. You would have an act that broke a territory, And then, okay, next stop, they move on, they break that territory, then they go to another one. When I say break, I mean go and do promotion, do TV shows, live events, whatever, so that they get the kids or buying their records. What they achieved was that they went global within weeks.
I mean, it was amazing.
Oh, and they weren't in those territories, it was just social network, and the kids got into it, and they became, I mean, I did the tour last year. We played 17 stadiums in Europe with One Direction, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, apart from being deaf, just walking in the venue because the kids are screaming and things, there was this energy that was there that I hadn't seen before in that way from an audience. And they released the DVD, I think, this Christmas. They shot it in Milan this year, sorry, not last year, this year. They shot it in Milan, and it was, I said, I wonder, I remember talking to the guy that was directing it and saying, how do you bottle that atmosphere and put it on a DVD? And he said, you know, that's the hardest thing. It's good, because I'd never felt energy like it. So I'm interested to see that. But that's, you know, they've just gone global without having to, they visited the territories, but they played 32 stadiums in America this summer.
It's amazing, isn't it? The numbers are huge.
Huge.
And just actually very topical as well, X Factor. What do you think about X Factor?
Yeah, I think the problem with any of those shows is that they're not necessarily looking for talent. They are, but if you get someone that doesn't have a backstory, you know, unfortunately isn't a single mother, didn't lose someone, hasn't got someone, you're not interesting to the researcher that's looking at you before you go to a panel. So they're really choosing TV fodder, with all due respect, more than they're looking at a talented person or an artist. And sometimes they'll overlook the talent for someone who's got a, you know, I'm trying to be PC, but that doesn't have, you know, something, that you can talk about. Because if they come on and they're very plain and pretty boring, but shit, have an amazing voice, so what? They're boring. So I get it. I understand. Again, that's another phenomenon. I mean, One Direction didn't win it; they came third or something.
That's what made me think of it.
So those things are there for a reason. But I do get a little bit frustrated that you know, I'm not saying all of it, but sometimes real talent gets overlooked for the use of a backstory.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think that. It's very interesting to hear your take on it.
It is. One of the things they did with The Voice, and obviously I'm not being biased to that because that changes, but the one thing about the conception of The Voice, when it was put together in Holland, was that they couldn't see the artist and they do not know who they are. They have no clue. They're not told a thing. I've been up filming with Tom, spent a couple of days. They have no clue who the people are. They come out and they sing with which for me is the best bit of the thing, with the chair turns and all that. I love that. But they don't know these people, so they are listening for the voice.
Yes.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
So at least there's a little bit more of a chance. But again, I think those people are still chosen to have a backstory, because the next thing, okay, the chair bit's great. How do we make it interesting after that? So they have to give them a backstory.
Yes.
It's that, which is the bit that I'm not that keen on.
Okay. Right, I think it's time to open up to the floor. We've got plenty of time for questions, so this is your opportunity to ask Phil anything you like to do with the music industry.
I'm not that bright. Couldn't answer anything else.
No, you're very bright. But so fire away. Do put your hand up, as I said, if you'd like to ask a question, and we'll bring the microphone over to you before you ask it, so everyone can hear. So who's going to go first? Gentleman here, Steph. And you want to be an artist?
Yes. Hello, Phil, mate. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
And you?
The question is, I'm a singer, and I want to be a singer in the future. But what's the best place to position myself to kind of get seen and to get out there? That's a hard question.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, it's still. people talk about the record industry not being as buoyant as it was, and obviously it isn't. The live industry seems to have overtaken the record industry slightly, but they still have to go hand in hand. So, you know, if someone has a new album, that's a vehicle that they're promoting to go on the road, or so that they're still getting the best sides of each other. So, unfortunately, I still think that the record company route is still probably the best. Yes, gig, if you can find gigs, because all that does is make you better. The experience comes and you get your chops better, and you can work. But try to convince someone at a record company that you need to be listened to. Not easy, and I understand, and they're getting lots of stuff every day. But if necessary, don't just send stuff. Go and find someone that you believe looks. If there's a particular genre of music that you like, do some inquiries, make some, because it's a lot easier nowadays with the old Google. Find out someone at a record company that's looking after that person of the genre that you like. So you're making you're getting somewhere that's at least should be interested, and then try and see them, as opposed to sending something in nicely and work it out from there.
Turn up at the office.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, the chance of you seeing it is zero, but if you do it and then say, hey, I've tried, because everyone's email address is there. Nice email. There's an MP3, put it on the email. Please have a listen. Because, you know, rather than putting a tape out and putting it on nowadays, or a CD that you might have burned, certainly the MP3's sound waves are a lot easier to hit the click button.
Thank you.
Next, anyone else?
Yeah, you mentioned about female artists and that the industry being largely male-dominated. I think in particular because you work with Lady Gaga. To what extent is she kind of involved in the nitty-gritty and also the creative element of putting on a tour? Or is it her people doing it?
No, she's very involved creatively. Obviously, I look after Lady Gaga in the UK, so I don't look after her across the world or anything. I do the shows here. And this tour that's out at the moment, seeing the drawings that were coming through in the very beginning, and they were all from her, and it was, you know, you'd sit there and think, oh, Jesus, but it's there. There is this thing, and I don't know if you've seen this show that's out at the moment. I mean, it's very interesting. The concept of, she's got walkways that go out into the arena, and they're all perspex, and they sit at about 8 feet. So you can walk underneath them while she's making those moves across the bridges, and they have pods that they go to. On one of the pods, she's put the piano, and then she's put this seating area in and plays piano to 20 seats, I think it is, and then goes back on the main stage, but most of it happens on the arena floor. So, you know, that's coming from her, that's coming from no one else.
Right. And what about on the business side and making the offer?
Well, that again, as far as she's concerned, I look after the UK side. So that's dealt with out of LA, out of our main office. So I'm, let's say, the facilitator. There'll be one in Holland, there's one in Belgium. We're the locals. We put it on, we do it. We haven't done the deal.
Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Thank you very much for your time.
Not at all.
My question would be, as the tech side of the music industry and the creative drives us to look for alternative income, and as artists are being more creative, looking at branding themselves between industries like film, television, fashion, would a promoter as yourself or Live Nation consider promoting artists that are not cookie cutter, just album type, but who have designed their entire live performances, merging the fashion, like the car event you mentioned, maybe an automobile brand, but it's a real experience, like an immersive experience for the product?
I think Gaga's probably the best example of that, because everyone says, oh, the clothes, but I mean, that's where it's coming from. She's moving not only through clothes and design, but this last tour, or the tour she's on at the moment, is called Art Pop. It's the art pop, that meaning everything. She has all sorts of fashion going on, as well as the music, and then she's working with Tony Bennett doing the jazz album. This is a similar artist, and there are artists like that, and yes, we look at those, obviously, and we have a partnership with Gaga that she's expressing herself and we're helping her.
So you would then decide how much to cost or charge the show and decide what ticket prices you would offer the public?
Yes,
based on
as I said, the deal is done in Los Angeles on that particular tour, but someone has sat down, worked it with her, where they are, where they're going, what they're doing, to put it together.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not at all.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
for giving the talk. I was wondering, do you ever connect and promote new songwriters to artists who could use their work?
Yes, obviously, if basically, not every artist, but many artists that we promote all write their own material and produce it themselves. So we're open to it. It's the same stories we went through here. It's about getting that artist recognized. And I'm looking all the time, so I do receive different CDs, tapes, or emails, and you look at those artists to see if there's any way you can help them. It's not as simple as saying, yes, okay, that's it, I'm going to put them on at the hour. You know, it doesn't work that simply, but it's about trying to move forward, get some recognition. Once you have that recognition, find some way, even if it's supports on tours, which is a good way of actually performing, learning, seeing, being in front of an audience, because that needs to be honed, as it were. You know, you need to have a rapport with your audience to make them want to come back to see you again. So there's a craft. There's no question, it's an art. You can write great songs. If you can't perform them, no one's going to want to listen to them. So it's, you know, that's why there are people that write songs and then artists perform them. It's not necessarily their vocation that they want to go and stand on stage or do them, but they like, you know, oh, I'm going to write this for Joe Schmo. Oh, it's a great song for Joe Schmo, and Joe Schmo loves it, records it, and does a great job of it. There are a lot of writers that sit back and say, yes, that's the satisfaction they need. It's about getting on and again, never stop believing, never stop working, because talent will come through.
Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the talk. It's
Not at
really
all.
insightful, very interesting. I just have a couple of questions. You mentioned the ticket sales. What are the factors involved in ticket sales?
Promotion and the artist. If you can put a show on, if you don't tell anyone, no one's going to buy the tickets. It's that simple. You have to make sure that you're getting that message out in every way, shape or form that you can, so that people, oh, you know, they want to buy those tickets to go and see them. We can put tickets on sale for anyone, but it's, if people don't know it, or if they don't know the artist, they're not going to go and see them. So it's everything is synchronized. It's about, we often talk about doing shows where we think the announcement is very important of a tour, really important, because you have to try and get that across, that there is something happening. You want to create some excitement. You want to make, oh, you want people to say, oh, I must find out where tickets are, I'm going to go and buy them. We sometimes feel that we blew it on the announcement. We don't feel we did a good enough job, and it will affect ticket sales, and sometimes it can. It's the way you position these things, so that people, it's a tough job to get people to put their hand in their pocket and spend their hard-earned money. So you have to convince them that it's worthwhile doing it. Now, I'm not talking about robbing them. I'm saying that they actually want to go and enjoy that experience of seeing that artist. But you've got to make sure that they want to do that and that they feel good about doing it, so that they're spending the money. So it's getting their interest in the beginning.
Can I just ask one more question?
Of course.
Basically, there is a downward trend for record sales right now, and most of the revenues come from streaming services, but they're very low, and touring. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I agree, but I think that it's very difficult to put a timeline on it, but the record companies, which there are now only 3 majors, they're not going to sit there for long. Trust me, they're going to find a way of, okay, we missed that boat, because, you know, if you talk to anyone in the record business, they will say that they didn't look at the internet seriously enough. Yes, it's one of them, you know, it'll be, but they will now find out, okay, we got to make this work, because they're not going to sit there being the second fiddle. I'm not saying that they're going to go and take the world over, but I see 3 years, 4 years, I think they're going to, you know, come back very, very strong, because they need to. You can't just, it's like festivals. Festivals, especially with, they don't really work in America. They have festivals, of course. They have one of the biggest, Coachella, but they're not, it's not like a culture that we have in Europe, where people go and they want to camp and, oh, you know, get there on the Tuesday. There's not a band until the Friday. But it don't matter. We're going to have plenty of scoops and just hang out in the camping. They don't get that culture. But at one point, it was very, whenever you were talking to an American agent, they were saying, oh, we're going to come and do a festival run, which means we're going to use your sound and lights. We come in as cheap as we can. You pay us lots of money. We do the show and we go. Because we don't have to sell tickets. It's not our name that's selling the tickets. It's the festival that's selling the tickets. So therefore, it's almost like a soft tour. For want of now, that was great. I would say last year, maybe the year before. Where are we? This is full. So 12 and 13 were very strong. We noticed this year that tailed off. Because people go in, they have, you know, move on. They're going to go to something else. There's a festival that happens in Belgium, if you're into EDM, called Tomorrowland. I don't know if anyone knows of it, has been. It is incredible. You know, when you go and see it, it's just phenomenal what's going on. And we're involved in a festival in Las Vegas, the Electric Daisy. That will get something like, I think there was 400,000 people there this year. Certain things work, but the others don't. So you know, you're watching trends. So the record companies will come back. They're down at the moment, but they will come back, and then the live stuff will fall off. Then we'll all have to start looking for a job again and working a way of getting the live things going.
Hi, thank you for what you've shared so far. I was really interested in the fact that you talked about luck, that you've been really lucky. I would like to find out, what could you say to people about helping to make their own luck, and what do Live Nation offer in terms of maybe internments or some kind of volunteering or something that could actually assist someone in trying to make their way?
First of all, this sounds very corporate, and I don't mean it to, but there is, on our website, you can go into internships. There are things for, you know, to help at festivals, and that's all on there. I know it's there. I can't tell you exactly what it says, but that's definitely there on the website. As far as making your own luck, when I said I've been very lucky, yes, that's probably a word that I've used. I've just been fortunate to be in the right place, the right time, and I know that, and every day figure that's, you know, I'm very happy with that fact. I think the only way you make your own luck is that you keep working. And that sounds very cliche, but it is. It's not about, it's having that tenacity to keep going. It's not about, you know, being too forceful. It's finding, it's listening, seeing, okay, that's what I've done. It's just, now, you know, you do make some of your own luck. You hear something, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get in there and see what that's about, and go and make the inquiry, talk to someone, but not giving up. That's all. That's how I am. Every day I'm thinking, okay, what have I got to do today? All right, some of it's a bit of a drag, but I've got to do it. There are some nice things. There's an awards dinner tonight. Happens in the music industry once a year. I was graciously invited by Lucy, but I'm going already. This is a Music Industry Trust Award that happens in the Grosvenor House, and every year they honour someone. Tonight it's Michael Eavis, who is responsible for Glastonbury, a Worthy Farm. He's the one that's being honoured at this award. So it's nice, the whole industry will be there, and you get to see people, have a listen. I'll be, you know, again, while I'm there, I'll still be scoping the room to see if there's someone I can talk to or need to talk to.
Okay, I think we're done. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I hope I haven't bored anybody.
I mean, it was absolutely amazing, hopefully inspirational to you, giving you a bit of insight into not only promoting, but what the music industry in general from a promoting angle. And thank you so, so much for giving up your time. I know you're extremely busy to come and talk to us this morning.
No, I've enjoyed it.
So if we could give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.